What's going on, everybody? So here we are back in Warframe, and I'm going to do a Volt build video. Been asked to do this video, so I'm going to put it together. I've had Volt for a while. I definitely like Volt. He's very good. If you know how to run him, he can run the higher level maps. Just some things I want to put in front of you here. So first, I'm doing a Corpus defense here. It's just a random online. It was an alert when I was recording for this. So I'll be doing all the different things inside the video in the background, different abilities and stuff while we're playing or talking about this build. Second, my build is very aggressive. Okay, just so you're aware, there is not much health or shields in this build. There are alternative ways you can build it, but for the most part, this is a very aggressive build, and it works well if you mix in your weaponry and your sentinel correctly, and you have a good combination with the damage 2.0 system, that you can run this effectively. So with that said, let's get this thing rolling here. I actually am using in the aura slot an energy siphon, which is negatively affecting my pointage, but I did manage to do the build the way that I like as it is. Like I said, I could form this slot, make it so that way I get the plus 14 points, and then maybe change something around if I wanted to. But I'll talk to you about that in a little bit. So you can actually change one of the cards out, and it can make it a little bit more effective, a little bit as far as shields or whatever is concerned. Anyway, so energy siphon is my choice for Volt. Works very well. And then let's go over these abilities for Volt. Most people are aware of the abilities, but I'm going to go through it anyway, just in case you're not aware of the abilities. And also with the latest update, Volt is no longer with a boss per se. He's now dropped on alerts and that type of stuff, so or survivals and whatnot. So he's a little bit harder to get than what he was before when there was actually a boss for him. So just keep that in mind. You can farm for him, but he's going to take a little bit longer to farm this time. So ability number 1 is Shock. Shock launches a shocking projectile, which stuns and deals damage to a single target, and then change the damage to anybody, the nearby enemies, as you can see when I'm doing it here. And I use stun a lot. It's very effective, especially maxed out. And the more you have grouped up as far as enemies, when you hit them, the more that gets taken out by the shock. Volt, to me, is not a recommended frame to run against Infested. Just keep that in mind. Infested really do not take much damage against electricity, so he's not a very effective frame against Infested. That's just always been my opinion. I mean, it doesn't work well with electricity mods on your weapons, so why would it work well with electricity on your frame? Okay, so after Shock, we have Speed. Everybody knows the Speed. You see a Volt in your group, you know that you're going to be running pretty fast. Great ability. Energizes the body and the nearby Warframes, and gives them increased speed and dexterity for a short time. And you can lengthen this based off of mods that I have on, so the time is extended. And you can run farther. Okay. Then we've got the Electric Shield. Okay, Shield is great. It's an obstacle of energy. Provides cover in pretty much any situation. There are ways to make it a little more effective as far as modding is concerned. But this is what you use when you're using the Synops to make your Synops weapon even more powerful. And this is how you paired your Synops back in the earlier updates, where you could actually get the hybrid crit or the red crit, which is not noticeable now, even though I know you're still getting it. But for some odd reason, in the latest updates here, since update 11, I think, it just doesn't show anymore with the new system. But they're still there. So, and then finally we have Overload. So Overload emits an energy field, which you're all aware of probably by now if you've seen somebody running Volt. And it destroys lights and other electronics. and then it will explode and damage the enemies as well with all the lights. So the more lights and electronics in a room, the more damage the overload is going to do, because it's taking that energy and then shooting it out to the enemies that is in the room based on the range of the overload. So keep that in mind. It's very good. Now, the only thing that I don't like about overload is that the animation for overload takes time to start, and during the start of the animation you can get killed. And I've had it happen time and time again, and it's very, very frustrating. So you can start your animation, and while the animation is rolling, you can actually die. Unlike other frames where they start the animation, once they start the animation, they're immediately invulnerable during the animation time. Volt is not that way, so you're going to have to be prepared about that. You have to think about it when you shoot it off. You've got like a 2 or 3 seconds while it's going through the start of the animation before overload actually shoots off, and you can die in that time. Though a lot of times when I die, when the animation is going, the overload still shoots off, but it's really frustrating. So just keep that in mind when you're running it, and I really hope DE fixes that someday. So anyway, into the regular stuff here. So we've got 2 polarity slots. So in the first one I'm putting a flow mod, which is 150% power max, so it's giving me a lot more power on my frame that I can utilize. Okay, and then the second one will be my focus for power strength. Shock and overload are most affected by the focus mod. Okay. So next we're going to talk about stretch. Stretch in here I've got a power range of 45%, so that's maxed out. And that's going to affect my shock, and it's going to affect my overload mostly. It gives me a farther range on those 2 abilities for taking out the enemies. So that's a good mod in there, along with obviously the focus and the flow mods. And then on top of that, I'm going to have continuity. So I've got a duration mod now. So duration is going to really affect my speed and my electric shield the most. It'll affect overload and shock as well. So it makes them last a little longer, so the shock can chain more, and the overload can do a little more damage just from the duration of it staying active. But this one is really good as far as speed and electric shield is concerned. Okay, and then on top of that, I am going to actually have in this build, I've got streamline. So I'm and this one I've got 20% power efficiency. So that just means that my power gets used a little bit less, so it doesn't cost as much on me. So between the flow and the streamline, I have more available power to use my, my AoE more than one time, or my shock over and over and over again. Speed, same way. Once it ends, I can quickly hit it again. I've got more than enough to go. Electric shield, I can usually, if I really want to, I can surround myself with electric shields and stay protected. So I've got streamline in there. And then I've got, for my buff up in health and shields, I've added a max vigor mod. Now, that's 120% extra shield capacity, 120% health. Now, this is pretty aggressive for Volt because he has no real armor. So you have to be that type of player that runs around a lot. You have to be able to move and stay alive. Except for when we're talking about the AoE and the animation time that takes forever. But you got to be prepared for that as well. So I'm running a vigor. Now, if you don't want to run a vigor and you want to maybe increase yourself a little bit more, you could pull out the vigor and you could pull out streamline and you could put in, let's say, a maxed redirection and a few points in a vitality mod, and that would help you out. Or you could put in a redirection and say an armor if you want to add armor to him to protect his health a little bit more. You could do it that way. But for me, just a straight vigor and the streamline is my most effective build for myself, and that's just how I run it. But those are your options. Take out the vigor, take out the streamline, throw in a redirection, and either a health or a steel fiber. Steel fiber is pretty good on him because it does help his armor, which he has like none of. But I always recommend if you're going to do that, I'm going to always recommend redirection to try to max out redirection or get it as high as you can to protect your shields more, and that'll be more beneficial than the steel fiber. But this is how I've got it built, so we just go over it one more time here. So energy siphon, even though it's giving me a negative effect, still gives me enough room to put my 60 points in here with the reactor on it. All 4 abilities maxed out: shock, electric shield, speed, and overload. And then I've got flow and focus in the polarity slots maxed, stretch and continuity maxed, vigor maxed, and streamline is only about halfway through. But if I were to ever change the aura slot on the energy siphon, I could max out streamline and really optimize the build a little bit more. And that's just, again, that's just the way I play it. So you could do those opposites if you wanted to, with changing out vigor and putting in redirection and vitality. So hopefully you guys enjoyed the build, enjoyed the video in the background, whatever you could see of it. And please do hit that like button, comments below anytime. Subscribe if you're not subscribed, it's much appreciated. And I will catch you guys in the next episodes of whatever we're going to do. I've still got a lot of weapon builds and frame builds to come up with. So just give me time, I'll put them out. But if you want to see something sooner than what I'm going to try to get together, let me know in a comment, and I will try to get that out sooner than later. It's much appreciated that you guys do like, comment, and subscribe, and we'll see you next time.